And welcome back to another edition of the Change My Mind podcast.
I won't change my mind because I don't have to, because I'm an American.
Yes, you are, and I am Wesley Sykes, and through the other side of the ether is a Leonardo to my Michelangelo. It's Mr. Nicholas J. Esquire, Euro in the half shell for hire.
Really? You give me Leonardo? Wow.
You got leadership category, traits about you. You played sports, you're kind of stiff. You're kind of an easy mark sometimes too. So
it is.
that works.
There it is.
Okay. I thought yours was a little bit easier than mine because sometimes I feel like I'm able to go rogue and Sigma like Raphael, but I'm really not that mean. So I think it's more kind-hearted, Michelangelo, maybe more aloof than just rogue.
They played in the newer version of TMNT. They did play Raphael a little bit interesting, where he was less like rogue and more just like got a lot of rage pent up inside. So,
yeah, exactly, and that's what I was kind of saying before about who was this geared towards the most, and I think that's kind of one of the things that points to a younger audience.
Interesting. Okay, we'll talk about it more.
He's definitely softer. He's not bullying. He's just got a lot of high testosterone. He's just a high T turtle.
He's got something going on there because he still has a lot of rage.
Well, that's true, but some people are just angry. Some people just got it. But if you haven't already guessed, this week is court is somewhat back in session as we hold another original versus sequel debate between the often forgot about 2007's TMNT, as well as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, now available in theaters everywhere. If you didn't want to go and watch that 2007 TMNT, that's available for your viewing pleasure on HBO Max. And I believe if you have the premium subscription to Amazon Prime, that's also available. But before we get all to that, Nick, we have some hard-hitting questions I need some answers to here. When you shower, do you face the shower head or the wall, and why?
Oh, okay. The wall, meaning the back wall, right?
Does your back face the shower head, or does your front face the shower head?
My back faces the shower head. I very rarely spend too much time facing the shower head myself. I've never thought about this before.
Yeah, I forget where this got brought up, but I back into the shower and then clean myself, wash off in the front.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I do all the lathering back to the shower.
Yeah, 100%. I just feel strange doing it otherwise because I feel like it's just going to wash off right away.
Well, I don't know. These athletes in a group setting is probably used to showering facing the wall all the time. I think that's just kind of like a natural inclination.
In that setting where it's a group setting, yeah, that makes more sense. But when I'm when I'm by myself, I don't do that. I'm definitely facing the wall, facing away from the shower head.
Well, I want to ease into the heat, especially if I have a nice hot shower going here. And, the front is way too sensitive, but my back can kind of withstand the heat a little bit more, kind of as a better read for the temperature.
So it's funny because you said that you go in with your back facing the shower. I mean, I go in from the backside and then facing the shower, and then I spin around once I get in there.
Yeah. I do the same as well here.
Okay, got it. Okay, yes. Interesting to hear all these words out of context.
I know, yeah. Now, okay, part two to this question. I may have asked this before, so forgive me if I forget. Do you wash below your knees, from your knees to your ankles?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah, you have to. I had a kid in high school who got, is it MRSA? It's like the skin condition that's like when you sometimes don't clean enough, it's like easy to get.
It might be that. I always related that to again, football locker rooms, wrestling locker rooms, that sort of thing.
Okay. I think that was like a soccer
staph infection. Right?
Maybe it was a staph infection. Maybe it was. I don't know, but it was a soccer teammate of mine that had that, and it sounded like just in terms of staying clean, that was I always try and. Don't get me wrong, there are some days where you take a faster shower and maybe don't get down there. But when I'm trying to do a full clean, a deep clean, I would say my normal clean. Yeah, I do go below the knees. I don't think you've ever asked me that though.
I wash my feet, but I don't wash my knees to my ankles, really. I just kind of let the soap run down and then just kind of do, unless I'm working out in the yard and getting dirt everywhere, then that's horse of a different color. But typically if I'm just going to the gym or a little sweaty or something like that, I'll just let everything else kind of run off around my calves and my shins.
Mm. It's well, I always worry too, like because I know it's always like make sure you get the back of your ears because like stuff can smell there pretty easy. I always thought,
Hey,
like,
potatoes back there.
I I always think about like the back of my knees, kind of in this similar manner, and then
Oh, interesting.
when I
Yeah.
do that naturally, that's where I start getting down to the calf region. I mean, but again, not as I still wouldn't say I'm as thorough as I am everywhere else.
This is a new development for me of not washing my shins. I don't know
Mhm.
why. I don't know if this is just like a new level of laziness that I've unlocked in my life. But that for that, I'll get the toes. I'll go in between the toes and the feet. But yeah, I don't know why.
You got to
Doesn't
keep those.
doesn't seem like it's that dirty of an area.
You got to keep those calves nice and squeaky shiny, man. Too big.
Well,
to not
yeah,
look right.
I keep them polished. I keep them
Good.
usually oiled up.
Good.
That's
Okay, there
usually
we
what I
go.
like. Yeah,
There you go. That's all that matters.
yeah, exactly.
It's morphin' time!
All right, let's switch over to trending now.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
I found this popsugar.com with Barbie breaching the $1 billion benchmark. How's that for alliteration?
Wow.
There's a bunch of Mattel products that have been in development now that they might be willing to make a movie on. Some of these maybe a little bit further ahead. Some of these you may have heard, but before I get to that, I just thought this was a kind of a funny note. You know, the big campaign marketing push of Barbenheimer, the celebrity name there, kind of like Brangelina and everything. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen like memes or like mock-up movie posters of like Barbie and the mushroom cloud of Oppenheimer and the kind of blending of the two posters. Apparently that's really pissed off a lot of people in Japan. I don't know why I said apparently, but rightfully so. I can see how there's like a movie just glorifying the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bomb there. And in response, they were like, what if we just came out with a movie like this? And it was like Pearl Harbor and Barbie. And it was like, a Barbie pilot dropping a bomb on Pearl Harbor. And I'm like, that's actually pretty funny. That's a pretty good comparison right there. So I liked that a little bit of internet culture. But nevertheless, back to the topic here. Mattel products that have been that are in the development stage that you would like to see a movie of. You yay or nay me here.
Okay.
Barney.
I feel like we're already getting it, but nay, but I will talk. I want to touch on that after. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to put these two together: Hot Wheels and or Matchbox.
Nay.
See, this one I might be interested in, although like we've already had some sort of a movie already like this, right? We have Cars, certainly.
Sure.
There's what was the one, Speed Racer? That didn't really do very well, but that's with Emil Hirsch. There's been these type of movies before. What's the movie with Hemsworth? That was just recently came out about a real life story about an IndyCar driver.
Oh yeah.
There was something like that, you know. So I'm not sure how much you can differentiate it without it being either talking cars, or like a NASCAR, IndyCar type movie. So that's my concern.
Well, we got the not that they'd ever do this, but it was the Twisted Metal video game. Is that right? Wasn't that primarily racing?
Yeah. And I think there's a series out. I don't know what platform. Maybe
series.
Amazon Prime's. But
Okay,
yeah, what's his name? Falcon's in it. Yeah,
yep, Anthony Mackie. If you wanted to make Hot Wheels and Matchbox, make one of them kind of more Twisted Metal like, then I'd be interested in seeing what the hell that's going to look like. But otherwise, I'm all set. I was never really a big Hot Wheels guy, anyways. So
I had some cars, and I liked the loop-de-loop tracks. Like those were kind of cool as a kid. But it wasn't a top tier go-to toy for me. Those are usually gifts that like my aunt and uncle would get for me.
Yeah, because they just don't know what to get you.
Yeah, it's like he's a boy, get him a car.
Yep.
This one seems interesting. Magic 8-Ball.
Make that a horror movie, and I'm interested. Otherwise, I don't get what the hell you're doing.
Yeah, if this is like a Final Destination type thing, I would be cool. I'm here for that.
Ooh,
I'm not a horror fan, but that would be kind of interesting if they could somehow escape death through the Magic 8-Ball. I can see how that's an easy place for your mind to go.
Get weird.
Speaking of getting weird, of course, Barbie, all this talk about the matriarchy and feminism and all of this stuff. How about Masters of the Universe, He-Man?
So they already did a show for this, an animated show on Netflix fairly
Correct.
recently. And I as I've always thought, like, He-Man is the dumbest friggin' name I've ever heard in my life. Like, who thought this was a good idea? I know it's like a big toy, but I was always just like, how, why, whatever.
It's peak masculinity. It's He-Man, Nick.
I know.
He's the master of the universe. He's the ultimate alpha male.
Yes.
It
But
spells it right out for you.
for someone who's always been like, I have no time for this property, I gave it a chance on Netflix, and that was really, really freaking good. I think it was
Really, you liked it? Yeah.
Oh my god, it was so good. There was like, but it's like He-Man goes through a lot of there's a loss of powers for He-Man and everything like that. The focus is on more like on different members of his team more so than just him. So maybe that's why. But it was still, I still really, really liked it. So I'd be like, if you have people from that team working on this, I don't know if that's realistic or not, but I'm interested. I'm open to this. And honestly, too, when you look at the ones we've talked about so far, Wes, it has a far richer background than everything else.
Oh yeah, and this are some of the toys that I adopted from my brother, who is 7 years my senior. So he had a big set with Skeletor, who was the big villain, and He-Man had everything. So those were fun to play with as a kid. But I'd be open for that because that seems like, again, like the most highest bandwidth of a backstory that you could play with.
Yes.
IP around it.
100%.
Already said Matchbox. Polly Pocket.
I feel like make it for little kids though. Like it doesn't make any sense to me otherwise. I don't know how you do this.
Yeah, it could be interesting again as like you remember the movie Downsizing? It was about Matt Damon, and you could get like the world finally figures out how to shrink people so that they can save money and save sizes. So like everything costs like a fraction of the price, and they put you in this world. So it's like you're getting beaten down by property taxes and income tax and all of this other stuff that you're just sick of living your life. It's almost like an early retirement. That's how they kind of framed it. That could be kind of interesting, but again, maybe they've already done this before.
Yeah, but stuff being done before hasn't stopped people from repurposing it and then making it their own thing.
That's very, very true, Nick. Very, very true. This one has some promise. Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
Yeah, I've seen like this getting buzz. Is Vin Diesel involved with this? Is that right?
I have no idea. The only one that I've really heard that has picked up steam is Polly Pocket.
Oh, really?
And that's just on the heels of Barbie. So I feel like that kind of is like an easy transition for that.
So before I get your take on the Rock'em Sock'em Robots, then I thought I saw, and maybe this was like a spoof thing on Twitter. I just kind of was like whatever and moved on. That the Barney stuff would be more like geared towards adults, which I found very strange.
I think I heard that too, which I don't know what that would be about either.
I mean, if they're going to do it, I mean, are you going to make it like a Pooh, Blood and Honey? Then maybe I should give it a look. I haven't seen the Winnie the Pooh horror thing yet, but
oh yeah.
But other than that,
I don't know.
It sounds strange. But Rock'em Sock'em Robots, I'm trying to check now. I thought I saw like news about a movie, but I don't know.
Well, this is essentially Real Steel with Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, it's Vin Diesel. I was right. Vin Diesel.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, and it's Vin Diesel to star and produce Rock'em Sock'em Robots. That's from Deadline.
Wow. Okay. Well, Vin Diesel, obviously, regardless of what you think about the Fast and the Furious movies, they make money. I think that's one of the top 5 highest grossing movies of the year so far. So pretty interesting stuff. But again, this feels like Real Steel. This feels like
Which is pretty good.
Pacific Rim, that type of thing. Like, I'm not sure if that really works, or how much spin you could do on something that's already been done.
Yeah, especially when you have Real Steel. Like Real Steel was solid. Like it's not like this world breaking movie or anything like that. It's like solid. It's a good time. Like glad I saw it. But yeah, Rock'em Sock'em Robots. I don't know how you. That's weird if you do the same thing basically as Real Steel.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Thomas and Friends. I'm assuming this is Thomas the Tank Engine.
I mean, yeah, if that's the case, that makes sense. I don't know how you make this into a.
I feel like they've done this. This again feels like Cars or something like that. I'm pretty sure they've had a Thomas the Tank Engine real movie, but I don't know.
Yeah, they definitely have. But look at the movie we're talking about today. They've had a ton of movies too already.
Yeah, absolutely. And this one actually is intriguing just because of how many different directions that you could go in. It's so ambiguous that you could go anywhere with this. I throw my pen.
I don't get this
Uno.
Makes no sense to me. I don't understand. I'm curious what the hell they're thinking. but it makes no sense.
Again, my thought is purely derivative here, but like use something like Game Night with what's her name? Rachel McAdams and Jason Bateman and Jesse Plemons, and you center it around that with a game, and then something maybe like a murder mystery is happening around the Uno game. I don't know.
Okay. I mean, it could work.
Yeah, I guess, but this is why I'm not a part of the writer's strike, and I'm just a scab looking to get in right now. So that's the difference.
There you go. Did you hurt yourself, by the way, doing that one?
Doing what, that burp?
Yeah.
Oh no, I've been gassing up a storm all day today. Yeah, it's just how it goes. Yeah. Oh yeah, and I got my polar seltzer, lemon lime. Let me see.
Hands disappearing. Oh, look at that.
There it is. Wait, there it is.
There it
yes.
is. Look at that.
People wait for that stuff on YouTube. They love that.
They do. They love the disappearing hand, especially.
They do. Yeah, they do.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
So, do you want to talk about the two episode premiere of Ahsoka?
Yeah.
Third.
Yeah, this so having it be 2 episodes to start things off, totally cool with it. Sounds good. I know some of the, I don't know how many of these Disney shows have started off with a single episode off the rip. I feel like most of them have been multiple, so totally makes sense to me. I think this other runtime was like an hour and a half between the two. So cool, working at like a 45-minute pace. I like that. I don't want this stuff to be rushed because Ahsoka has like potential to create some serious buzz. I mean, we've probably, for those of you who listen to us across the DSG, have heard us raving about Star Wars Rebels and then about Ahsoka in Clone Wars. She's awesome. Rosario Dawson has played her a little bit already and shown a ton of potential with that character. Great feel for her. And also I saw that she was talking about like her portrayal of Ahsoka. And I guess at this age, she's trying to model her like performance or using Gandalf as a inspiration for her performance. So that's interesting.
She's that old, huh?
I mean, I didn't think she was. She's not that old, but yeah, it's an interesting decision. And given where Ahsoka was in Star Wars Rebels and how she kind of was removing herself, but also trying to be involved at times, totally makes sense for her to go that route. And then on top of that, though, like she may not be the character everybody's talking about the most when this show is all said and done. Thrawn is amazing. He's a madman. He's so calculated. Is
it the guy with the black hat who's blue?
I don't think he has a black hat, but he's blue.
Maybe I'm thinking of something else then.
Oh, no, you're thinking of Cad Bane, who I love. Cad Bane's a badass. This guy's different. Cad Bane's he's a bounty hunter. This guy's like a military general, and he's extremely calculated, and also has like he's all about the long game. Like he'll lose these smaller battles, sacrifice his people, whatever, doesn't care as long as he continues to learn and then win in the long haul. So I read his comic from Marvel. There's some books. Joe's listened to his one of the audiobooks of like the full length prose books. It's like there's a lot of lore around this character, and he was great in Star Wars Rebels as well. So a lot of potential with this show. I expect everybody, either people are like anything else these days, people are either going to really love it or they're really going to friggin' hate it. But I would expect that this is going to do well.
And entertain this rumor for me here that Mando season 4 is in fact not going to be a season on Disney Plus at all, but rather a movie that may come after the Solo Rey story.
So I guess in looking this up, it seems like it was a plan to have a Mando movie at some point. So that makes me feel a little bit better about this, but I hate the idea of rushing it. And we know it's because of the writer's strike and everything that's going on there. In general, though, I find the idea of doing a Mando movie odd because that show, I love that show. And it's very much a day in the life of a character who starts out as a bounty hunter, goes through some other stuff and leads to some bigger things. But there are a lot of day in the life episodes like in the Star Wars galaxy existing on the fringes and whatnot. And I'm here for it, but I just don't understand how that's going to translate to the big screen when it's a day in life and it's like a Western. I'll see it and it could be cool. I just don't know how the general audience is going to receive that because day in the life is I don't know. That just feels odd for the big screen. Like unless it depends on the role that you like, the story you're trying to tell.
I see what you're saying there. So you did say you love this show.
Yes.
Did you love it enough to put it in your top 50 TV shows of all time in the DSG?
I definitely did. I can't recall where it was though. I feel like it was in the 20s for me. I think
Spoiler alert, not in the top 25 nor in the top 50.
Oh, I haven't listened to it yet. I'm gonna, because there's a lot of people who have issues with the day in the life stuff, and that's why I'm like, if you go,
I didn't watch it, so I'm just as guilty.
Right. Well, I mean, but that doesn't. I don't know, Wes. There's a lot of shows that I didn't watch that should be on my list. That
Sure.
But in the end, so okay, that's right. Dork has that out there. Maybe we'll save that for the Discharge Depot because I have 2 shows that didn't make the list that I'm blown away by. But
absolutely,
we'll get to that later.
Yes, but in the moment, let's shift gears to the Comic Book Minute.
A superb choice.
So, got a busy week this week from DC. The Night Terrors event continues on. You have issue 3. From Dark Horse, we have Barnstormers 2, and I just want to call that out for everybody because it's not just the second issue of Barnstormers. In fact, it's not really the second issue of Barnstormers. The first 2 issues that were released on Comixology came out in issue 1. Then you get issues 3 and 4 here in Barnstormers 2. So a double-loaded issue. Joe talked about this on the show a while back. I absolutely love this. This has been outstanding. Can't wait for the final issue, which again we'll be collecting 5 and 6. From AWA Studios, we have The Madness issue 1. From Boom, we have the return of Damn Them All issue 7, which I will be talking about that series at length on the show this week. And Joe will be talking about Nightclub from Mark Millar. But from Marvel, the 2 big ones that I wanted to mention, Immortal X-Men issue 14. Again, there's a lot of stuff going on in the X-Men universe right now. I talked all about Hellfire Gala last week. But the big one is the Ghost Rider Wolverine crossover, Weapons of Vengeance. We got issue 1 of that out this week, or Alpha issue 1. I get confused with that, but I'm all in on this series especially because the guy who writes Ghost Rider and the guy who writes Wolverine are the same person. So he's shown great feel for both of these characters, so I have no doubt about how he's going to handle this mini event. So Joe and I are all in on this shit.
What's the difference between an alpha number 1 and a number 1?
I don't know.
Just a little bit more robust, maybe a little bit thicker of a spine.
Maybe Marvel's the only one that does it, and I feel like you know what it might be, Wes. This is like I think this is what it is because there's only one other event that I can recall being in on where they had an alpha, and it was a Hulk Thor crossover. And again, situation where you have the same writer involved. I think that was the Hulk like it was a war that those 2 were having, and it was alpha. Then the next issue, the next chapter of the story took place in Hulk or Thor. I can't remember. Then the one after that was in Hulk or Thor, whichever followed. So like they're not doing an event. It's a crossover thing. So this is like a starting point, and then it'll be continued in like Wolverine 35 or Ghost Rider 15, whatever it is, and back and forth like that till you get to the end.
I see. So this is one separate issue that leads you to get plugged into the mainline issues of Wolverine and Ghost Rider or whoever it is,
where the story will continue. Yes,
gotcha.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's kind of an interesting marketing tactic there.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question because I honestly never really think about it because it always just Joe and I always like, why is it saying alpha? This is freaking stupid. But like that's absolutely what it is.
I thought they were just trying to fire up the nerds there. Like, yeah, you too can be an alpha if you read this.
Yeah, there you go. I just thought it was dumb. So same thing.
It's all the same thing here.
Exactly.
Great stuff from the Comic Book Minute. And as always, please go check out TLDR. What do they got this week? Nightclub and Damn Them All, right? Is that where you already said that?
Yes, sir. And Damn Them All too.
Listening.
It's all right. For Constantine fans, you're going to want to hear the Damn Them All conversation for sure.
All right. Now let's change gears and go over to our main topic.
It's Morphin' time!
Or TMNT 2007 versus TMNT Mutant Mayhem 2023 for a debate. We got to stop that because I think Vanilla Ice is hurting for $1 or $2 these days, so he might hit us with the copyright. Mission Impossible, Tom Cruise, not so much. They didn't care that much. But for this one here, we'll cut that a little bit short and a little bit different. So we said at the top, this is our original versus sequel debate. We'll play this too. Dick Wolf's got money too, so I wouldn't worry about that either. But So a little different format. You may recall if you go back about 6 months or so to our Christmas story, original versus sequel debate. It wasn't really a debate. It was more of like a compare and contrasting of ideas. We were swept up in the holiday spirit. I'm swept up in Turtle Fever somewhat or so. But I think there's no denying that what we both enjoyed, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, more than the oft forgot TMNT 2007 reboot, which was the first movie since Secret of the Ooze or TMNT 3, the live action one. So that TMNT 2007 was the first movie since the original trilogy came out, and that's pretty interesting stuff. So,
oh, you're right. I didn't realize that because there's the Michael
yeah,
Bay
think
one.
I'm just making it up.
I didn't know I thought you forgot the Michael Bay one. I was like, I don't know when that came out. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for doubting you.
Yeah, no, don't you ever doubt me.
You're so right. Did you wait a minute? Johnny Knoxville was Leonardo in the TMNT Michael Bay.
I did not know that. Those movies are very very forgettable. Outside of casting Megan Fox as April O'Neil, there's not much to enjoy about those Michael Bay movies.
I've never watched them, but I gotta go now because I gotta see Johnny Knoxville as Leonardo. That makes no sense.
Well, I don't think you really see Johnny Knoxville. You know, it's like Groot as Well, I don't know what. I'm not sure if that would be the reason to draw you to it.
In general, no. But like him. If he was playing Michelangelo, it would make sense to me. But if him playing Donatello, okay, maybe. But him as like a leader, I just want to know how that voice, like how his voice sounds over the guy who's supposed to call him the shots. It's just odd.
That's interesting. Okay, I see what you're saying here. But before we go through the debate questions here, we have a little tail of the tape. I'll start with TMNT. Again, 2007. When the world is threatened by an ancient evil, the 4 adolescent turtles, I think that's a bit of a stretch here, must reunite and overcome their faults in order to stand against it. The cast and crew, this was written and directed by Kevin Monroe, starring Patrick Stewart as Yodel Winters, Mako as Splinter, nice one-name name there, not to be confused with the Shark. We have Chris Evans as Casey Jones, Sarah Michelle Gellar as April O'Neil, Ziyi Zhang as Karai, Lawrence Fishburne with a narrator credit.
Yeah.
Always like that. Mitchell Whitfield as Donatello, James Arnold Taylor as Leonardo, Mikey Kelly, appropriately named for Michelangelo, Nolan North. Actually, I also feel like that name fits for Raphael. I don't know why. Nolan kind of comes across as like a little bit of like an edgy jerk. So I don't know. That's just what I get from that name. Okay. And the late great 56 game hitting streak extraordinaire John DiMaggio for Colonel Santino. No relation to the Dom or Joe there. Just John DiMaggio. Yeah. This movie hauled in 95.7 million worldwide and 54 million domestic, including a 24.2 million opening weekend on a $34 million budget. Received a 6.2 out of 10 on IMDb with a 36-60 split on Rotten Tomatoes, while 4.6 out of 5 on Google reviews, with 72% of Google users enjoying this movie.
36. Interesting.
Not good.
Okay.
I think this movie has come around. I think it's grown on people a little bit. That's what my research has said. People are finally coming around, giving it its flowers after a few years.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we can dig into that a little bit more, but
We'll discuss.
I'll do my tail of the tape first. TMNT Mutant Mayhem, which just came out this past weekend. The synopsis, the film. It's funny whenever they put like in the synopsis, like acknowledging that this is a film or a movie. Like I just feel like it doesn't happen often. Anyways,
coffee is hot.
Yes. The film follows the Turtle Brothers as they work to earn the love of New York City while facing down an army of mutants.
Also, real quick, if I could just interject here, I like how they also capitalized the Turtle and Turtle Brothers as if that was their last name, which of course we know they don't have a last name in this movie. But I thought that was a nice, interesting note. Yeah,
Michelangelo Turtle. Yes, that really rolls off the tongue. Directed by Jeff Rowe and Kyler Spears, written by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, starring Micah Abbey as Donatello, Shaman Brown Jr. as Michelangelo, Nicholas Cantu as Leonardo, Brady Noon as Raphael, Ayo Edebiri as April O'Neil, Maya Rudolph as Cynthia Outram, John Cena as Rocksteady. Oh, that's where John Cena was. Okay. Seth Rogen as Bebop. Rose Byrne as Leatherhead. That's where I was wondering where she was too.
Yep.
Natasha Demetrio as Wingnut. Giancarlo Esposito as Baxter Stockman. Jackie Chan as Splinter. Ice Cube as Superfly. This movie also introduced us to this I've never heard of that played Mondo Gecko, Paul Rudd.
He's a riser.
Yeah.
He's gonna be an up and comer in the world.
I can't argue with you on that one, Wes. Post Malone as Ray Fillet, and then Hannibal Buress as Genghis Frog. As for the box office, this hauled in $51.5 million worldwide on its opening weekend. 43 million of that was domestic, and the budget on this movie was 70 million. So not too bad, but
well on its way.
I forget. Are you supposed to cover? You're not supposed to cover your budget the opening weekend, right?
No, I'm not sure what the rule of thumb is, or if there is a rule of thumb on that. But I mean, I feel like it's right there. And even if this has a 60% drop off, you're right around that 70 million.
Right. Yeah.
Like you're going to get that in that second week drop off.
But like we've talked about, it needs to be 2.5 times what it
typically. Yeah. So figure 140 there with the marketing and stuff like that, right?
Right. Yeah. This received a 7.7 out of 10 on IMDb, an even 95-95 split on Roddy T's, a 3.9 out of 5 on Google reviews, with 92% of Google users liking TMNT Mutant Mayhem.
Yeah, and what I'll say about the cast and crew, I almost don't know why they have as many big name regular actors in here doing the voice roles, because like you mentioned, John Cena, barely recognizable in this. Rose Byrne, barely recognizable in this. I don't know. I loved Post Malone, Paul Rudd. They were all great in this, but so to have all these big names in there that just kind of play, that maybe only have a couple of lines here or there, or there's like so much chatter around everyone that you can't really understand, like pick out the individual. Like there's a lot of people talking over one another. Yeah, I'm not sure if that was really the point. So I see all these names coming out in the trailer and I get really excited. I love Hannibal Buress. I love, again, Paul Rudd. I love Post Malone. I love John Cena. Like some of these guys, like, I don't know, just get one person. You probably could have saved some money here. That's my point.
Yeah,
not necessarily a bad thing.
It is odd because I forgot all of these people are in it. There's only 3 people whose voices I knew when we were watching it, and it was Seth Rogen because it's painfully obvious, Jackie Chan because again it's very obvious, and then Ice Cube. That's it.
Oh, and Paul Rudd.
I didn't.
Oh, really? You didn't pick up on that? Yeah.
I don't know why. I just didn't. Yeah, like when it was like Mondo Gecko, I was like, oh shit, that was Paul Rudd. So I don't know. I'm sure I'll go back and watch it and think, you're an idiot. How did you not catch that? I'm sure that's
absolutely, though. I would agree on Ice Cube. Certainly Seth Rogen. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. And Jackie Chan. Yeah. Those were very, very much easy to point
But
out.
honestly, for those 3, where like everybody else kind of made, and again, like Stockman, he was in it for a short bit. Maybe I would have caught it a little more. I like where what's funny is where you were talking about the issues that you had with the movie, getting there and stuff. I showed up very last minute. Like the last trailer ended, I took my seat, movie started, and I was like, wow, geez, dude.
Well, that's what I was hoping for. And if you've been a listener of the Change My Mind podcast, and if you are listening, please jump over to YouTube because I'm going to kill the Twitter feed right now. CMM podcast there. Say bye, Twitter. Say bye.
Bye, X.
Bye.
Okay.
On Twitter. Okay. But yeah, so now save changes. We're good. Okay. So if you've been listening, I've been kind of detailing over the past few exit reviews. Like, listen, we have 30 minutes of previews and or commercials in a lot of these movies that I'm seeing. I hate sitting through it at that point. I finish all my candy, finish all my drink, then I'm just sitting with a full bladder for 2.5 hours. So I've been trying to cut it off. And I've been 30 minutes late to movies and just still seeing the final trailer, the final commercial with all the cheesy movie lines and everything like that when everyone's sitting down in the theater. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. Cut it a little bit close. I had a 12:30 start time that I was 30 minutes away from. So I ended up leaving at 12:30. Had a little bit of traffic. I get to my seat around 12:50. I was about 40 minutes late. And it turns out I missed like maybe 10 minutes of the movie. That's
wild,
about right?
Yeah, when you
from what I told you.
Well, wait a minute. When it came to that,
Because I got in like a minute or two before the fruit ninja scene where they're slicing up the watermelons on the rooftop.
And I'm pretty sure that was like that was very much the beginning. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you didn't miss much.
Okay, so yeah, again, I wasn't sure, and they kind of filled in everything, and plus I'm familiar with the IP anyway, so
Sure.
I didn't need a whole lot of that beginning. But I also left because again, I was on a time crunch. Didn't know that there was not only a mid-credit scene but a post-credit scene. Is that correct?
There was a post-credit scene, yes.
Didn't stay for either. So the beginning and the end, I didn't get either slice of bread. I just give me the meat, the lettuce, and tomato.
Thankfully, that's just like you just need to know. Like, you may want to. Again, we're a spoiler-filled podcast for those who are new to the show. You may have wanted to see the outline of the Shredder, like because if you love his design, which who doesn't? But that's really more like all that you missed. Like obviously the news, you can get that anywhere. He's just going to be helping out. It's just the company that we were dealing with this whole movie. He's going to help them out.
Supposed to be TCBY, TCNJ,
TI.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. So, but you did not watch TMNT. You watched the majority of it. Is that correct?
Yeah, the
probably about the same amount of time that I watched Mutant Mayhem. Actually, that's probably how it worked out.
Maybe I definitely still have thoughts though. Like from a comparison standpoint, I definitely have I was prepared to debate this if we needed to because you were going to be representing the other one, which I don't think he's even in the same ballpark as Mutant Mayhem.
No, but it holds up pretty well for a 2007 movie in a couple of ways. And it does a couple things that I respect on its face, but I'm not sure that it executed it. Okay. And just for example, we'll just kind of hop into it now. The animation holds up fantastic. I mean, it's one of the better animated films from the early 2000s. You still watch it now. It's very, very cleanly animated. So that was the first thing that I took away from it. Love the animation of the 2007 movie.
Okay.
The other one, however, though, is that they pushed past the origin story and pushed past Master Shredder. They've already defeated him, and they're all broken up. And this is like the next chapter that you see them in, which I think was interesting. There's no origin story that you just kind of pick up, and assuming the people who want to see this movie are seeing it because they know the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles story, which I love. As we get all of these reboots and everything, I just appreciate that. And I can't really say much about Mutant Mayhem because I missed the introduction and the origin story there a little bit. But this one, kind of does that, but it's a little bit of a fresher take on it. Yeah,
it's a fresher take. So it's a fresher take. I agree with that. I had like thoughts on some of the other stuff you were saying. So like when it comes to the animation is solid. It does hold up.
For a 2007 movie, it's fantastic.
Yes. My thing is that I feel like it's also when I was watching, I was like, this could have just been, made straight for DVD or straight for I
agree.
It didn't feel crazy cinematic to me. That was my big thing.
Yeah, I could see that. This was done by a very small studio that went bankrupt after its next movie here. So they were supposed to do another. I think it was a Magi. IMAGI. I think that was the name of it. And they did this other movie called Astro Boy that really flopped. You might have seen, you might remember, it's like probably like 2010 or so. You might remember if you saw like a trailer or something for it, but didn't really do that well. And it was supposed to get a sequel, TMNT 2, and they just never got the money. And that was right around the same time that everything got sold to Viacom and Nickelodeon and all that stuff. So everything just kind of went into a different route.
So I think this is like from an art standpoint, it's solid. Like I understand the times. Like I like respect to the times. Like obviously it's a lot different. Like animation was
it's like the Incredibles. That's what they looked like to me.
Okay, I mean I think there's a little bit Incredibles is better done, but like it's either way it's
a better movie. Yeah.
Well, no, but from an animation standpoint, I think the Incredibles are still better too. There's a lot more going on too, so I think it has to be like.
Yeah, I don't know where you're not seeing it. Like you really just think it's fine. Like I think for 2007, like this is great animation.
When did the original Incredibles come out? Because this is not better than
I would say it's right around there.
The original Incredibles came out in 2004. I don't know. I would not say this is better animation than the original Incredibles. Absolutely not.
Oh, wow.
I think
Wow.
I'm not saying it's bad. It's just not on that level.
No, you
now,
just have a high bar for it. I'm beginning to learn this here.
Well, as we start to like the Spider-Verse changed the game, right? Like for the longest time, there were like Pixar has always had good animation in its own. There's different styles, but still, like it's got its. You kind of can tell when it's a Pixar movie, but everything else, like I don't know, like how many things are making major statements. Like Shrek was good, but like from an animation standpoint and everything, but.
Well, and let me just say, this is our first question here. So which movie has the better animation? So we're just kind of hopping right into it now. We'll go back and forth on it.
Thank you very much. I got confused with the fluidity.
Well,
stuff.
no, I didn't say it. So we just kind of jumped right in. So just for the viewers at home.
When I saw when we watched Spider-Verse, like the original one, there's so many things to like about it. As someone who loves comics, like I was so appreciative of that animation and how next level it was. And I thought, let's get more animated movies and please take Spider-Verse's lead. That doesn't mean do the same exact shit that they do, because you can't do that. It's going to look bad. That's what I felt. I felt that the Mutant Mayhem did what I wanted to happen. Like it's totally.
For sure, I agree. So very unique animation, very disjointed and like uneven, which I thought was kind of cool. I think that was purposeful. If you go back and read some articles or some interviews, I think that was done on purpose. But they're all very ugly. Like everyone outside of the Turtles are very ugly and like almost grotesque.
Sure. I mean, you're dealing with a ton of mutants. It's supposed to be dark and dingy. And when you go back to like
even the humans,
but even when you go back to like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like origins, like in the original comics when things were super gritty, it's like this. Not all comic book art is like nice, clean, and flashy. And we see that in the second Spider-Verse movie where like you get like Spider-Punk and all these different stuff. So I want that. My thing is, does it fit the tone of the story? Does it fit the characters? And to me, it absolutely did. And I care about the Turtles more than any of the other people in there. So they, like, as long as they fit in the world, then we're good.
Yeah, I think my first again, it came in a little bit late here. So my first real like notice of like, wow, like everyone in here is really ugly. I mean, aside from April O'Neil, who they bashed that right over the head over here. They're like, she's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of shaped like a potato, and like Leonardo spends like 3, 4, 5 lines like telling everyone like she's beautiful. She is beautiful.
He was a big fan.
Aside, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but it's also there's also objective beauty too. You know what I mean? Some people are just beautiful. But I would say the April O'Neil from the TMNT 07 one she's like Mrs. Fantastic. She's very shapely. But nevertheless, when they go in to go reclaim April's bike and all those biker gang guys come out and they all look disfigured, like almost like, like they were missing a few chromosomes or something. You know what I mean? Like they're like very slow. And I'm like, is this what it's going to be like depiction of the humans the whole time? And it kind of was. You had the Cynthia Outram had like no jaw really. It was just like neck into the mouth.
That was very interesting.
So very, very unique style, which I thought was interesting. It definitely grabbed my attention on. But everything kind of looked grotesque, which is like, can we just not make beautiful things anymore? Can we not do that?
But you don't. I just don't think that fits in the TMNT world.
No, I hear what you're saying. I do.
Yeah,
I liked the animation too. I thought the animation was nice here.
I love it, and I hope that again, like as we get more of these, like as people try and mess around with comic book properties more outside of live action stuff, it can be done successfully outside of the Spider-Verse. Like this was very good, and I don't think it's not on the same level because Spider-Verse did its own. It did it first, and it's so clean. So this is naturally going to rub some people the wrong way in some capacity, but it's like. Clearly, it's doing well monetarily. Hopefully, that continues so that way people will continue to take these risks. But I love this and I want more of it.
Oh yeah, and I agree. And as much as people love the Turtles, it just doesn't really hold a candle to Spider-Man as a property and its reach, right?
So I think
it's just like
very true.
Yeah, that's going to be so popular and garner a lot of attention. This is going to be, I think, do well, but on its own scale. I think to compare it almost anything to Spider-Verse is almost doing it a disservice. I get the comparisons obviously with the animation, but it's like, this is its own thing in a lot of ways. So I think it's going to have like $500 million in revenue. Like that's, clearly that's not going to happen with the opening weekend and stuff.
Right, 1,000%. But now where we've had this, and we've had Spider-Verse, and then on the small screen we have Incredibles. You got me thinking about them. Invincible,
right?
Is,
yeah.
It's a little more traditional in some ways with the animation style, but also kind of incorporates like an anime type feel. It's just like these are things that can do well, and they can do well across like multiple generations too. It's not just for kids. So I hope we continue to see more of that.
Yeah, and there was a really interesting quote. I think it was from the director of Mutant Mayhem here. It was like, we talked to the artist and said that like we wanted this to be where this is a teenage film to be, or like kind of a kid's film, to be like you would draw when you were a kid, and to not have before you knew the rules of art and the rules of drawing, so that you could make a huge eye with a tiny eye or whatever, and things to scale didn't really match up. And it's still kind of like your personality or your imagination, I should say, coming through there. So which I thought was cool. Again, like for the similar reasons why I liked the AI intro to Secret Invasion, you give me a good reason for your a method to your madness. I can buy into it. It's like, okay, I get that.
Just say it beforehand.
Yeah, I know how you feel. Yeah. just wanted to get that in there. Which movie features the Turtles in their truest and or best form?
I mean, again, I'm prepared to like have this as like a full-fledged like
Oh yeah, but I told you this in the text message.
Yes.
Too.
No. I'm just letting
like a back and forth.
I'm letting the people know, like I'm ready to just like bash everything on Wes's side of the argument and go full bore on my side. I think.
Well, I would hope you could have a more nuanced conversation.
I'm trying. It's tough. I think. From a Raphael standpoint, the 2007 movie version was more what I think of Raphael. I still very much like Mutant Mayhem. That said, I think everybody else in Mutant Mayhem, I 100% like prefer that. And even though there's some changes with those characters, I think Mikey's probably like from. When you talk about like the difference between the two movies, he's probably the most similar across the two. And then the biggest differences are Raph. But I think that where Leonardo and Donatello are so different in these two movies, I absolutely love them in Mutant Mayhem. And I don't like those two characters in general.
Yeah. Well, again, Leo, like maybe I missed this in like, kind of like a beginning montage scene before I got to my seat, but you don't really see Leo struggle with his leadership at all. If anything, it's just like in Mutant Mayhem, they just kind of point to like him being like, oh, you're trying to be a leader. And then, oh, you finally do become a leader, but you're still kind of nerdy and dorky. And what I really liked about the TMNT 2007 one was that Leo versus Raphael kind of strife that you have that ultimately pays off with a great fight scene on the rooftop there. Where Raphael almost kills Leo. Thought that was very good stuff. But what I liked about Mutant Mayhem, this is going to get beaten over the head by any review that you listen to here, but this was actually Teenage Turtles, where the TMNT 07 movie, they have jobs, and like while that fits the story with them not doing the origin and kind of continuing on with the story that we've all heard before, that was just still kind of jarring to me, almost as jarring as seeing the Turtles go to school without their masks and human clothes at the end, which I did not like at all.
Yeah. That said, I will take that over the original. At least it makes more sense to me than the original design. Originally, TMNT were black and white, but then when they started having color incorporated, they had all red bandanas. It's like you just tell them apart by their weapons. I'm not a huge fan of that, but yeah. With the Leo stuff, so yeah, well, my issue is like 07 where you have Leo and Raph kind of button heads. It's just that's always how it's been, and I'm not saying that you can't do that once in a while. It totally makes sense, but here it's like it's all about Leo having to figure out himself, get his shit together, and this is the first time where I'm like, okay, I actually feel his struggle in needing to be the leader and trying how the hell am I going to do it, whereas in the past I'm always just like. He's just a wet blanket. He's not fun. He's kind of like from like him and Cyclops are two characters.
I was just going to say,
I feel like I should like them more. Like Cyclops looks really, really cool with his like, the 90s design, especially.
Sure.
But like, other than that, they don't do a whole hell of a lot for me. In Mutant Mayhem, he did. And then Donatello, same thing. Like I loved Donatello and Mutant Mayhem. Like I actually like understand. Like this feels like the first time. I know they're turtles and they're not supposed to be humans, but like this is the most relatable Donatello I've ever seen in my life. I'm not saying I'm like this kid or growing up, but he just feels so real to me. Where in the past it's just always like he's just a genius. That's it. Okay.
See, again, maybe help me out here because from what I missed in the beginning, but I didn't really see that much individual development for them. They were always kind of working well as a team. You see that again in that fight to reclaim April O'Neil's bike. They're all over the place and not really working in cohesion, but they figured that out pretty quickly by the end of that fight. And it kind of carries forward throughout there. So what I liked more about the 07 TMNT is that internal strife of the team dynamic and everyone kind of finding their place and figuring it out there. So I don't know.
I'm surprised you feel that way. Okay. First, when they get, so I'm pretty sure the Fruit Ninja thing was what led right into, because that was the star. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So right from there, they go and so you know what you missed? You missed them like doing the shopping list thing. That's what you missed, which was really freaking cool because where they played Annie up later on in the movie, they also played it in that part of it too. That would have really gotten you in a. That sucks that you missed that.
Okay.
That was really good. But anyways, so when they go and do the throwing, the Fruit Ninja stuff, like Leo had followed them at that point. Previously, they said, I don't want to follow. They ignored Leo because they did the grocery shopping. And they're like, oh, I want to go. Let's go see this movie. And Leo's like, no, we can't do it. And he's supposed to be the leader. And they all just blatantly ignore him.
I see. Okay. So that would have been helpful if I'd seen that then.
Yes. But then even with the fight, like Leo's like telling Raph to go one way and then Raph goes the other. And then Leo's like, I told you to go this way. And he's like, yeah, but I still got it done. And then there was still a level of disjointedness to them. And that's like that, all that stuff to me is biggest for Leo. I think the flattest character was probably of the Turtles was probably Raph. But still,
he was the most nerfed. Like you said, he didn't really have that edge to him that is usually present with him, right?
Yeah, they turned into Rage instead, which I thought was funny and interesting. But it was like, again, like that's like if we're ranking it based on like traditional stuff, like he's probably number 4. But like I never liked Donnie, and he was awesome.
I guess, and maybe this is where it comes into just feeling like this was tailored more for the teens, tweens, and in betweens, right? It's like. That internal strife didn't really feel present or didn't hit as much for me because it felt more like good natured and the friends were all ultimately everyone kind of knew their roles, but there wasn't really much pushback there. There maybe just a ribbing or a joke here and there, but like there wasn't a whole lot of like, I don't know. I just didn't feel like they spent a whole lot of time on it, which I think is actually a big part of the Turtles is finding out who they are and then as individuals, but also who they are within the group.
See, so now when we talk about like Raph being nerfed, like Mikey was not nerfed, but Mikey's always just like good vibes and everything like that. But like all these guys wanted to just get out in the world, like and be around people and stuff like that, and be able to live normal lives. Raph, as much as all the other guys wanted to do that, Raph was pretty vocal about it in the sense of like. Where at the end he's like, I said I don't want you guys to be the last things that your faces to be the last things I ever see. And he's like, oh, I'm happy to like have that. Like he's kind of going about that the whole movie. Like there's pushback, and then there's Leo pushing back on them, and it's also like a parent kid dynamic in all this too, where like Splinter's very, very different than what we're used to.
I agree with that too, and I wasn't crazy about. I think even his look was a little different. I love Jackie Chan. I love the voice acting and some of like the jokes and stuff. And obviously his fight scene when he comes to save them is awesome. But the look of him compared to that more like fox look of TMNT, like he kind of looks like a fox in that. And like the more traditional look of Splinter, I kind of preferred that a little bit more. He had the rounded ears that just made him look softer. I don't know. It didn't work for me. It was more of like a Ratatouille type of thing.
This is by far, I mean, if it's not already clear, and if you guys haven't already seen it, this is by far the most unique take that I've seen on the Ninja Turtles. That said, to me, where like it's so different in so many ways, it still feels like it's in the ballpark of TMNT, which is why, like I'm curious to listen to Mac and Goo talk about it because I think Goo ended up liking it. This is why I loved it though. Like it's a different take and a different spin, more modern spin, but there's still some like nostalgia-y kind of stuff integrated in there in respect for the property. And that's like so yes, I agree with you. So much of this stuff is different, but it's all in the realm of like within that ballpark.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying there. I'm trying to think of anything else. The music montages I've really loved. Specifically, you mentioned the Annie Up, but the No Diggity scene when they're going through, getting all like the mafia families riled up, and it all kind of looks like they're fighting at once, but it's like different times at different locations. So it's really well done. And anytime you get No Diggity by Blackstreet on there, I mean, that's just a hit maker.
To that end too, especially with those two, like the montages and everything, like they did such a good job in this movie of getting those, like, for lack of a better term right now, those comic book moments, those shots where we've talked about that kind of stuff in the past, where you have the characters posing like right before they go into a fight or, walking into a fight, whatever. Those are some of the best images. Those are things you see on covers sometimes, or splash pages.
Yeah, there we go. I know that.
Yeah, that's the shit right there, man. I absolutely loved, like, every time they did it, and they did it quite a bit. I was just like, I'm so here for it.
Maybe a smidge too much, but I liked it overall. But maybe
it was definitely a lot.
Sometimes I think, again, why I think the movie was geared towards a younger audience, it's there to like pick the audience back up, like, oh, you recognize this song, you're back into the movie now. That's kind of what I think, and it's kind of like appeals to the attention deficit crowd a little bit better. That's just me. Which movie do you think tells a better story?
I mean,
Turtles related story. Or let me reword this. Let's talk about the stories of each movies.
Okay. Well, so with the 2007 one, there's like the interesting angle of like the Turtles haven't been separated and now coming back, and the dynamic of Raph and everything that's going on. Is it the Night Fighter? What is he called again? It's not Night Rider.
Oh, Night Watch. Night Watcher.
Night Watcher. There you go. Yeah. So like that whole bit is interesting, but this general, like, end of the world kind of thing, like we've seen it before. And like it's not the worst premise of like, it's this immortal general who, like trapped his friends and blah blah blah. It's not the worst premise in the world. It's just like it feels kind of played out.
I think that's interesting, because I feel kind of a similar way with the story of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is just X-Men in a lot of ways, and what's that?
You mean Mutant Mayhem?
Yeah. It's just the X-Men story with Magneto and Professor X. So I think that feels kind of derivative. What I would give TMNT the credit for is, again, having a little bit of an off the beaten path story where you're not using Master Shredder, where you're not using some of the Foot Clan necessarily. They're kind of in there as like a secondary type role, just to kind of get like almost like a cameo. They don't have a huge role in it, which I give Mutant Mayhem credit as well. Not going to the default, big villain right off the bat there. What I would say TMNT, the 07 version, falls is that execution. I love the idea of going back 3,000 years. You have the stars aligning, a portal coming through. It's kind of like science fiction-y. I think that's very interesting. You have a guy who lives the whole time, has everlasting life, and lives through generations. He's a leader and all this stuff. I think that stuff's pretty interesting. I think it's interesting that you have the Turtles already breaking up and already defeating Shredder, and what they're doing in a post-Shredder environment. So I think that's kind of interesting. Again, not the best execution, but I do like that idea behind it.
That part is great.
But great idea. I was a little disappointed with the X-Men type feel that Mutant Mayhem gave.
So part of where it's like different too than X-Men, because that's a fair point, like being accepted by the people and then not being accepted by the people, and seeing how that all kind of transpires. Where it's different too, though, is where you have the Magneto type in Superfly, you don't have the Professor Xavier type. Like, no one is taking over that role, where in the past you have Splinter.
It's kind of Turtles.
It's the Turtles, but that's different. You don't have this leader figurehead. You just have these kids who are pushing back against their dad and trying to figure out like trying to get what they want and also do do good things.
Well, and the argument would be Splinter as well, right? When he hears Superfly literally reiterating the same thing that he told his sons, he's like, I can't be this guy. It's the two sides of the same coin, which is what Professor X and Magneto are.
Right, but they're up until that moment, they're the same side of the same coin. And that's where like Magneto and Xavier never, maybe times where Magneto kind of comes over to Charles' side. And obviously there are times where they're again, like you said, they're on the same coin. So they are aligned. But in this case, like those two guys, like Splinter and Superfly were basically on the same team. It's just more like one's like, screw the people.
Well, one's a pacifist. Yeah,
exactly. One's just like, I'm just going to do my thing and stay out of the way. But that's a big departure from what Splinter has normally been, where like he's always trying to they're still helping people and everything and defending the world, or at least New York.
Yeah, absolutely. But I would also say that a couple derivative things that I just felt out through there, all the New Yorkers helping out at the end, that felt very Spider-Man-ish.
Yeah.
Sam Raimi, very, very corny and cheesy. Even the whole bit about April O'Neil throwing up and getting stage fright. I mean, that's Pitch Perfect. That's like the opening of Pitch Perfect right there. Just being on stage and then suddenly throwing up. That's the whole premise of the movie. Why the movie starts, right? That's pretty much what happens there. And I'm like, all right, like we've seen this before here. I don't know. So some of the major points, again, I felt like a little derivative.
See, that's where where we're not going to change each other's minds, because I like all that stuff, because I haven't seen this with the Turtles. I haven't seen this with April O'Neil, and all these characters have to go back in some capacity. And it's the other thing is too, by having Splinter on the same side, just to go back to that, on the same side as Superfly, essentially for the majority of the movie, the focus is so much on the kids and what they want to do and how they're trying to break out of their shell. I'm sorry, but there's no other way to put it.
Go. Hey,
so that helps put the focus on that, where it doesn't feel as, for me, as X-Men-y, where it's like, this is the overarching thing of people versus mutants and acceptance. It's about like, these are kids just trying to, be able to live normal lives. That's how I felt when I was watching it.
Again, that seems like a very minor difference. You have the good guys who want to, at the end of the day, protect humans and be well received and liked by humans, and then you have the other ones who just wants to kill them. I don't know. that seems pretty on the point. When if you want to get granular with it, I feel like be my guest. But
okay,
it's the same story.
I disagree, and that's where we are.
Which movie features the better supporting cast? And this one is kind of tougher because you could go with acting wise. Who else appeared in here? I think Casey Jones does a lot of heavy lifting for the TMNT group. Chris Evans, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Lawrence Fishburne, Patrick Stewart, the voice acting there. Or you could go with the characters themselves. The Mondo Gecko, the Casey Joneses, the Ray Fillets, all that kind of stuff. So I think, which direction would you rather attack this first?
I mean, I don't even see how this is close. I don't. As much as I would love to have Casey.
Well, again, this isn't really a debate. We're just having. I don't know how I can't say this any more clearer to you, Nick. We're just exchanging ideas.
I know, it's so bad.
I mean, we talked about it for like 3 days. So.
I know. I know. It's. I don't know what's going on. So personally, when I watch when you talk about supporting cast, I'm in this instance, I'm also looking at Superfly. And then the Patrick Stewart villain in the 07 version. To me, just across the board, the only advantage that the first one, the 2007 version has, is Casey. You don't have Casey in the other one. Casey's obviously the man.
Well, that's a big ad, though. He's a big side character. I would say a well-represented April O'Neil who has Indiana Jones type style. And she's not really a journalist. She's just like a treasure hunter. Definitely a departure from her character, but would say looks like the role a little bit more.
Yeah, but I don't give a shit about that. It's inconsequential for the character. I think the biggest thing for that character specifically, and there's others like that too.
Well, she probably wouldn't be a loser. She's good looking. Yeah, that's all I would say.
Right. Yeah, she probably wouldn't. But what was I gonna say? But yeah, other than, like, so for me, Casey's their one advantage, and that's really it. And it's a huge. Don't get me wrong, it's a big thing. But like, you didn't need Casey in this movie. It would have just clogged things up.
I agree. I think I would
Right.
like some sort of an introduction or an Easter egg or something like that. I don't know, but
Well, I
there's
mean,
still high school. I don't know if you can really have a high school vigilante. That's not just like a normal person. So I don't
good
know.
point.
But
point.
yeah, I mean, this movie is really loaded. Mutant Mayhem, I should say, is really loaded with the cameos here. But yeah, wanted to give a shout out to Casey Jones there. I do like Yodel Winters as a villain. I think I like him a little bit more than Superfly, although I thought Ice Cube did a fairly good job. We'll get into that question a little bit after. But yeah, Mondo, Gecko, Ray Fillet, those were all my favorites. Bebop and Rocksteady were nice to see represented, but they weren't. Sometimes I felt like their action scenes, and there's so much going on that it was just kind of like a blur of color every time. Like it was tough to kind of pick out people. Like I'm thinking of the car chase scene specifically. And it's like, all right, who is this? Who is this character? Who is this? There was a lot in there. So sometimes I think with having so many cameos, that could kind of water it down.
So the one other thing about this too, like with the Mutant Mayhem, like we get Bebop and Rocksteady, who are always bozos, right? They always are. They are here, and they totally fit. Where these characters like team up against Superfly against the end, in general, like, and there's some other characters too. It's like I don't recall that happening. I just hope this doesn't turn them into like good guys the rest of the way. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want Bebop and Rocksteady to be that. Like, I like them, and I like them when they're just mindless oafs working for getting manipulated by bad guys over and over.
And while they did set up a sequel and everything with the teasers, the movie itself kind of ends with a neat little bow, which I'm not sure is completely satisfying there. Like you said, there everyone is living in the sewers under one roof together, and all the bad guys are now good and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like a perfect, happy little ending there, which I prefer in the TMNT. Again, a little bit more adult storyline there. It kind of leaves things open a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just me. Of course, one's getting a sequel that has a neat bow on it. The other one did not, and he left it open. Apparently, I was doing research for it. TMNT. It was going to be covering Michelangelo. There was like a mock-up movie poster, and it was Michelangelo holding his demutinized turtle brothers. So it was just going to be him, which I thought could have been really, really interesting.
I hope someday we get Last Ronin. That would be
sure,
like
yeah.
One turtle focused, yeah.
Absolutely. But again, you got to get through these kind of movies to be able to get to that Last Ronin part. I don't know. Like it felt like the mood and the style of the 07 TMNT could have built to that if it had enough.
Yeah.
If it was done right the first time, like I think you could have gotten that in a sequel or a third or whatever. But this one, I feel like it's going to take a little bit. I'm not sure if you can do that in this movie.
You can just do Last Ronin out of nowhere. You just can't do it
like a Logan type of movie.
Yeah, you just can't
stand on its own.
You can't do it right now where like you have Mutant Mayhem stuff. Like if Mutant Mayhem continues into a sequel, which I'd be stunned if it doesn't. If it continues into a sequel, then you'll have to wait to do Last Ronin on the big screen at least, which is not the worst thing in the world. I mean, if you're kicking ass here, then I'm going to enjoy that ride.
Favorite sidekick from Mayhem? Villain sidekick.
I mean, I hesitate saying the Gecko because I didn't even know it was friggin' Paul Rudd.
He was awesome, though. I mean,
he was.
And so obvious for him and Michelangelo just to go right off the bat together, right?
Now they vibe very well together. Yeah, I mean, it's probably them. I mean, I like the look of Bebop and Rocksteady. Mm-hmm. But they're also like, I can't believe that was John Cena that it was Rocksteady.
It didn't even have to be. It didn't even sound like him, so I'm not sure.
Who's yours?
Why they shelled out that money. I mean, Mondo Gecko was up there. I loved Ray Fillet. Ray Fillet was a great time for me. Finding out after the fact that was Post Malone was fun.
Yeah, totally makes sense. I didn't know that
either. Which movie has let me stop myself here. Please compare and contrast the villains.
So you have one villain that, like, so Pat again. I keep forgetting Patrick Stewart's character.
Yodel.
Okay, Yodel. I mean, Yodel has an interesting story. Like, okay, he's like, he took over the world. He's immortal. He betrayed his friends in doing so, and now he kind of wants to go. He's lived enough lives that he's all set. It's interesting, but then you have Superfly, who tries to befriend the turtles and all. And again, like something you've definitely seen before. There's no denying that, but that's the way it is with. I feel like in both of these characters. The thing about Superfly is like he's kind of fun. Like you can understand why people would get along with him, and again, you can understand where like he doesn't like humans and what they've done in everything and how they've been rejected and whatnot. Sure, but it's like the personality that's there with him is why I like him so much more than Yodel, even though maybe Yodel has a slightly more interesting backstory.
Yeah, I think my thoughts on Superfly really deteriorate once he goes into super duper fly mode and he becomes huge and it's just a big monster character. And then he's already, all the other sidekicks, the Bebops, the Rocksteadies, the Ray Fillets have all said like, no, I don't really want to do this anymore. Like this, I never knew that there was another option other than just hating humans. So they all come against them. I'm like, I don't know. That's when again, it feels kind of kiddish, more geared towards the children than me. It doesn't really feel like an earned ending or an earned villain there for me. But I think I agree with you. I can get behind it, even if it is a little X-Men-ish. I can get behind his motivations and what makes him into a villain there. But I really do. I love the Yodel villain in TMNT. Again, like you mentioned, the warrior who earned eternal life at the expense of his brothers being cast in stone. That was unforeknown to him, unforeseen. He didn't imagine that. So he spends the rest of eternity using all of his resources to get his brothers back, only for them to turn on him and to not want him. So and he's really kind of like misunderstood because he wants to get rid of all these monsters, these gargoyles who are just like hanging out on the tree on the building tops. And you find that out at the end, and he just wants a peaceful death. I think that's a really like nuanced, kind of layered adult villain there, as opposed to Super Duper Fly, who just makes like references to his own rap lyrics, which I hated. It's like 6 a.m. and the cops roll in, or whatever that Ice Cube line is. And I'm like, all right, like, what are we doing here? Was a little. We talk about on the nose, right?
This is where you see, like, I laughed at that. Like, I don't like. This is where we see shit differently. Like, just sometimes it's just funny.
But this is a little bit too joking. And I know that relates to the kids and stuff. It's just. Again, I think TMNT was a little bit more geared towards adults. Mutant Mayhem, a little more geared towards the children there. With again, it's a PG movie.
So. I'm thinking about this and like this conversation, and obviously we're not doing a poll because we're not debating.
There's no winners here today,
right? We're all winners.
I would be the loser on this one.
I'm curious though, with these in the future, where we put out 2 polls with this. I know we're struggling to put out just one.
But yeah. When you say we, who exactly do you mean, Nick?
The people don't know who puts out the polls. No one's putting them out, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
But the idea, I guess, is just we have it. We always do it where it's like who won the debate. But I don't always trust the voters to go and be like, "Oh, I'm voting for Wes, and Wes did a good job." It's like whoever like has the better movie wins the debate. I feel like most of the time is the case.
Oh yeah, well that's why we like to open up the show with this.
I won't change my mind because I don't have to, because I'm an American.
But people already have their minds made up.
Do you think that if we put out 2 polls in the same thread and it was who had the better debate and which movie do you like more? Do you think people would try to answer it a little more honestly?
I might be asking a lot from the people. I don't know.
Okay.
But I think I like to think the people are honest. Yeah, I would hope that they weren't just lying all previously.
That would be.
But I do hear what you're saying though. It's like,
yeah.
Did they really listen to the episode, or did they just see that movie and it's like, no, I like it better?
Yeah. Or did they listen to the episode and be like, I've already decided, and whoever's on the other side of it, I hate for this next 30 minutes.
It doesn't matter. I hate everything that comes out of Wes's mouth anyway. It's Nick every day, all day.
Or vice versa.
Yeah. Take it or leave it.
So I don't have any further questions. Obviously, normally we would do our closing statements, but I'm actually curious your grading.
Yeah, so grading here, I liked Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. I enjoyed it. It was a fun time. It was quick too. So as I
This is
mentioned,
true.
I was on a time crunch, even though I missed, I don't know how much of the opening there. Maybe it was a little quicker than it was supposed to be. But that it was a good time. Again, I come in there fully knowing that I'm not the target audience as someone who's pushing 40, right? So that's I come in knowing that. But there were still some things that I would have rolled my eyes at, but if I had my teenage son there, we would have had a great time. You know what I mean? Like, so I give it like an 84.
Okay. I didn't think
84 out of 100.
that makes sense to me. I did not think you were going to give it that high of a grade based on some of the stuff you're saying. Interesting.
It was just very obvious. I had just gone out, finished up seeing TMNT, and then coming out, I left the theater. It was really good. There was some heart to it. There was some good laughs to it. Great animation to this. But again, it's not totally geared for me. When I gave it some time to marinate and I was thinking about some of the things that I had issues with, that's when I start taking the points away from it.
Sure. I obviously really, really like this movie, and I do have a higher grade than you. But at the same time, like, this isn't Endgame. This isn't Spider-Verse. This isn't one of those movies where it's like, how do you give it an 84? Like, totally makes sense to me how someone could give it an 84. Maybe an 80 would be where I would be like, wow. But
maybe 85. Does 85 feel a little bit better? I think
the score that you feel is right is the right score for you. I'm just having a larger, an objective view of it. Because we talk about that sometimes when we see this has got on Rotten Tomatoes 95 split, but wasn't it like a what was it on IMDb? It was a 7.7 out of 10. That doesn't make sense to me. That's absurd. I am more on the Rotten Tomatoes end of this. I gave this a 91 out of 100. And a big thing for me in this is the animation. I really love it because it feels like a statement's being made with the animation. Whereas, you ask the average person who's got the better animation, TMNT 2007 or Mutant Mayhem, they're probably going to say 2007. But I look at that and it's like there's nothing is really being said with this art here. And that's kind of what I was trying to get at before.
Oh, I agree. I just think, again, for an entirely CGI'd movie, it's very smooth. Everything moves well. It's very clean. Everything. It's like, it just looks very good for 07 there.
For so many reasons, it is good for 07. Yes.
And I think even now, if this were to come out now, it wouldn't be statement making, genre defining or anything like that. But I think it holds up as a very cleanly animated movie, which makes me wonder whether you're talking about Spider-Verse or the new Turtles or the 07 Turtles, when you have these fully animated movies compared to, like, say, the CGI of the new superhero stuff, The Flash, for example, or Quantum Mania, where's the disconnect? Do you know what I mean? Is it like the live action blue screen stuff? But like, why can those things look so crisp and clean, but then you can tell a green screen in Spider-Man No Way Home or something like that?
That's an interest. Yeah, that's a fair question.
I'm not sure.
It's a good question. It is. Do you have a grade for the TMNT 2007?
Yeah, 79 was kind of the number I was thinking on. Maybe 80, maybe it cracks up in there, but I think right around there. I think it's a good movie. I think I like the chances that it took. Just the execution wasn't fully there.
Gotcha. It was trending towards like a 70, maybe a 72 for me. So we're in same general area, same separation.
Just about there. So go see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, now in a theater near you. Also saw it in 3D, which was awesome, by the way. That was really nice. Nice little treat for me. And then also go see TMNT, the 2007 animated movie, available to stream on HBO Max, or if you're a premium subscriber, on Amazon Prime. Go check those out, and go Ninjas, go Ninjas, go. All right, let's switch gears here to the
choo-choo bitches.
And you had your press hat on this week, if I'm not mistaken, at Boston Fan Expo. Extra, read all about it here. Get your paper here, kid.
I did. Yeah, it was a great time. I love Fan Expo Boston. I got to see a few friends of TLDR. Maybe booked a few new guests that we'll incorporate
Oh,
later on down the line. Made out with some killer artwork that I did tweet out, or not tweet out, post on the no, I did tweet out from the TLDR handle. So stuff to go check out there. But yeah, it's a great time. I definitely recommend that for people, especially comic book readers, because they usually have some A-list artists, A-list writers that you can go in there. It's Wild West. Like, you and I are so used to dealing with athletes, and
hmm
at the professional level, especially, there's just like you can talk to them and stuff like that, but there's a difference of like
they
know
don't
there's
want to talk to you.
yeah, and their shit, they know their shit doesn't stink. Like, there's all of it. And then, like, even as a kid, like growing up and getting autographs, there weren't always like, there were some guys who would talk to you, but there were others like who just couldn't be bothered, and sometimes they're busy. I get it. But writers at cons and artists at cons, like the nicest people in the world by and large. Like, I feel like I've only had like one odd interaction, maybe two. I can't think of them, but like, it just, it's naturally going to happen. But they're so awesome.
That's very cool. I'm glad you got to experience that. And was it a little bit tame with the SAG strike and everything like that going on, or was it still
It felt like
as good as it usually is?
I mean, I don't really go and mess around with the celebrities. I was trying to see the armor from the Mandalorian, but her line was too long, and so I wasn't able to do that. But no, there were still some like names there. I mean, who was it that was surprised me? Oh, Shatner was there. Morena Baccarat, is that how you say
Oh,
it?
yeah. From
From Deadpool,
Borat
Gotham.
2, yeah.
Yep. She's in Borat too.
Wait, that's not her, Marie.
I'm talking about the girlfriend.
Yes, sorry. I thought you were thinking of the girl who plays Cosmo the Space Dog, and who was the sister in Borat and Borat 2.
I didn't know that girl was. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Now I think they might have close names. You keep talking. Now I got to look it up.
Okay. But there felt like there was more like animated. Oh, Hayden Christensen was there as well, which I feel like he's either been there or Rhode Island in the past. So definitely still some bigger names, maybe some that are not as active. But I think with the SAG stuff now, it's like you can't talk about your shows and movies.
Right. Well, that's why I was asking. So you saw Morena Baccarin.
Yes.
I was thinking of Maria Bakalova.
Oh,
right.
Wow.
Close. Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. Wow. Okay. But yeah, it was a good time. I recommend it for like, if you're, especially like, I think Goo brought his son, who's still a little young, but definitely something like Joe and I went last year with his nephew. I think he was like 12. Perfect for him. I tried to set him up with Princess Peach and Princess Daisy, but he was not having any of it.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Who knows? There.
What about you?
Went to the Portuguese feast. You're of course a good Portuguese boy. You would go to the biggest gathering of Portuguese people in the world, right? Or the country, I should say.
Of course, yeah.
You went there this weekend, right?
Yeah, I was there too. We hung out. What are you talking about?
No, I had a nice Madeira wine, a couple of expensive beers, washed it all down with a pastéis nata. Very, very nice. It was a nice weekend there.
Was the was the little one with you guys when you did that?
Was the
little one? The little one.
Yeah, she did great. She she was a trooper the whole time. Her first feast, she went through her first security check, so that was nice. There's one of two security checks now to get in there, so as annoying as that is, it's actually reaffirming in some ways. So
do you go to that every year? I feel like I've only been like maybe 3 times.
Try to go every year. I mean, since I've been back in Massachusetts, for sure. And then definitely when I was in high school, I would go more keenly at nighttime in high school. Now you won't catch me doing that.
Is it? See, I've only been 3 times. I swear to God. I don't think I ever went before high school.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a fun time. It's a carnival. Yeah. They got food there. They big open pit that you can kebab some meat and then make a nice sandwich out of. So it's good stuff.
Definitely a good time. If you have not experienced it before and you live in like the Mass, Rhode Island area, maybe even Connecticut, I'd say it's worth making. Is it a week-long thing or is it just a weekend thing? I can't remember.
It was a week-long thing. Yeah. So I think it goes Monday to Sunday. So, it did go Monday to Sunday.
Yeah. I got to take Lauren to that next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely here. But more importantly, in the Discharge Depot, so just the DSG topics here, Dork did their top 25 of one of their comic or TV shows of all time. Mac and Good, TMNT. Doesn't really matter about everything else. You know about TLDR, Nightclub, Damn Them All. Go check that out. But talking about the 25-1 of the DSG top 25 TV shows of all time.
Yep.
That's some beef.
Yeah, dude. Like, so, okay. The Witcher didn't make the list. It's out now, guys. If you haven't listened to Dork, go listen. The Witcher didn't make the list, and Peaky Blinders didn't make the list. Now
that's a little more surprising than The Witcher to me.
Thank you. Now you have not watched Peaky Blinders, correct?
No.
Right. So the Witcher, when I found that out, I was blown away. I know Joe had it on his list, but then as I kind of thought about it, Billy doesn't have it on his list. Now Billy's watched a hell of a lot more TV than me. I know that. But Billy didn't have it on his list. And then I'm pretty sure no one else in the DSG gives a shit about The Witcher. So, so my number 3, that was my number three show. And you can say what you want about it being too high. Like, I have not watched The Wire. I have not watched The Sopranos. So there are some shows on there like that, yes, should be on my list that aren't. But The Witcher scratches a major itch for me. Peaky Blinders is a show that I would think normally for myself, like, wouldn't, and I fucking love it. Tommy Shelby is one of the all-time like TV show characters in my book, and the fact that I don't know who's watched it in the DSG. I have to listen to see like if they like rip me for it or not. I need to know if people haven't watched it, because you're missing out if you haven't.
No, they did not attack individuals this time around. Perhaps because it was more of a solidified list than the 26 through 50. It's a little bit more of a chalk list as you get closer to the top there. But I also don't think they just wanted to hear the backlash from them after I said that they hated small businesses.
Yeah, because of the Guy Fieri stuff. Yeah,
they can't take the heat. Yeah,
Guy Fieri Guy Fieri got brought up in the intro and in the beginning of TMNT. They were talking like humans that they wanted to sit with, and it was Jay-Z, Beyonce, Tom Brady, and Guy Fieri. And I don't remember.
There you go. Right, people love Guy Fieri.
Yeah.
What I will say though, again, I'm one of those people who have not watched Peaky Blinders, but when the three of them were discussing The Sopranos, which was, I forget where that was ranked, maybe top 5, definitely top 10.
Okay.
And they were saying about how every Italian culture, or everyone who embraces the Italian culture, also adopted some things from like The Sopranos. Like that became part of their personality for some time. I don't know, and maybe this is just my ignorance here. I would think that Peaky Blinders would do to Irish people what The Sopranos did for Italians.
Peaky Blinders is British.
Yeah, but this is a problem. Cillian Murphy's Irish.
He is. Yeah. But they're from Birmingham, England.
Yeah, but that's like he can't be doing that for his people. You know what I mean?
Well, we'll say they're actually
is he lighting car bombs in Northern Ireland? Like, what's he doing?
They're actually gypsies.
Okay, all right.
So Romani people, but like
Sure.
I think they're half English and half gypsy, which I don't understand how all of that works. Like I don't know it. Like Romani's not Romanian. I don't know any of that.
So okay, so I my point null and void then. But my big takeaway is that you got an Irishman to play your lead in your British film. Like that has to be crossing of a picket line, because I remember, I think this is kind of recently, they showed some like Hollywood red carpet with Cillian Murphy meeting Prince Harry, and Harry's like, "Oh, I love you, and whatever, Peaky Blinders, you're British, right? You're British," and he goes, "No, I'm Irish," and then like Cillian Murphy says it again, like he's like, "No, I'm Irish," and there was like a little bit of like animosity between it. It was said like with a little bit of gusto coming out of his chest.
Interesting.
And just kind of gave him the look, and I kind of looked him dead in the eye when he said it. And I think Prince Harry just like folded into his wife's pocket or something like that.
That's interesting. Yeah. I haven't seen that. I need to try and find this clip. But yeah, like Cillian Murphy has that face. Like
yeah, he's like a steely. Yeah. You
don't mess with that dude. He might be my like right now. I still haven't seen Oppenheimer. But I love Cillian Murphy. He might be my favorite actor because I love 28 Days Later. I loved him in Red Eye. Obviously, he's great as Scarecrow in Batman Begins. Mm-hmm. He's awesome. Peaky Blinders is where he like set him over the top for me, and I can't wait to see Oppenheimer. But yeah, like he's so so fucking good in this show. And there's some really cool supporting characters in the course of it all too. The guy who plays his older brother, Arthur, and then Paulie Gray is outstanding. And there's others too in the course of it all. But it's like stakes are high in the course of it all, and I highly recommend it. The big thing is if you have a problem listening to like a British accent that you don't understand,
Yes,
you will need to like. I watched it at first without subtitles, and then I did it. It was a game changer. If you can't get past that, then you're not going to like Peaky Blinders, and it's a shame. But that's what it is. It's just what it is. It's how you are. So, that's my only thing. So I don't know who else hasn't watched. Oh, by the way, that's what I wanted to say. You brought up the Prince Harry stuff. This was a BBC show originally. So
okay.
it's
The
British
Office,
show.
that sort of thing. All right.
Yeah, it's a British show, and then they just carry it on Netflix like after the fact. So
That's good stuff. What was the Downton Abbey, right? I feel like that was another one they kind of probably did that with, right?
I think so. I think you're right.
That's a British show, so I'm just trying to put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, there you go. But either way, it's I very much recommend it. I think I've watched it 3 times, Peaky Blinders. Every time, I think I binged the first 3 seasons, and then I went back before the 4th. Maybe it was before, and then I watched the 4th. That's what it was. Binged 3 seasons, watched the 4th, and then 5th, 6th, and then I went back and rewatched a lot of stuff.
Very interesting stuff here. So I like it. So check out the top 25 of the Dork shared Gooniverses, extended Gooniverses, top 25 TV shows of all time, 25 through 1 there. Probably available on YouTube or Apple or Spotify or any of those good podcasting sites. But as for us, Nick, we got a little bit of a TBD situation here. We'll figure that out at the end. But one way or the other, it'll be at the same bat time, same bat place, as always.